What is up, guys? Rickackis here, and we're going over today one of the main points of debate within the Destiny community right now, and that is whether or not pulse rifles are overpowered in PvP. Now we're going to be discussing whether or not this is actually the case or if people are simply overreacting. If it is the case, what can be done to fix it? Now this is definitely one of the most interesting topics because if I just said to you guys, do you think pulse rifles are overpowered? I think a lot of you would have a hard time saying yes, even me. You know, I'm making this video and you're thinking, well, if the answer is no, haven't you kind of like resolve the video in the first minute? But if you seriously think about it, if pulse rifles are overpowered, I think a lot of you would go, not really. They don't really feel overpowered. They don't feel overbearing. I can beat pulse rifles. If you're in a lobby with everyone using pulse rifles and you're using a scout rifle that you're really comfortable with, you can still do decently well. However, if I ask you guys a different question, and this time the question would be, what is the most competitive gun type? I think every single one of you, almost all of you, would go, well, pulse rifles. And that's very interesting because, again, people are hesitant to say that pulse rifles are overpowered because they definitely don't feel as overbearing and as useless to fight against as stuff that was traditionally overpowered, like the Thorn, like the Last Word. Like, back in the past meta, when you were fighting people with last words and they would get that glitch where they were getting a headshot, even if they were aiming down sights, you couldn't do anything. You were just sitting there, you're like, nothing I could have done would have helped me in that scenario. Pulse rifles is not really like that. You still have some counterplay when you're versing people with pulse rifles. Again, however, every time you're in a competitive environment, Trials of Osiris, Iron Banner, I think a lot of people both utilize, obviously, and see almost exclusively pulse rifles. When I was in Trials of Osiris for my 3 flawless runs, it was easily 80% pulse rifles being used. And those weren't just a few pulse rifles. There were, the Nerwin's Mercy, I saw a lot. The Reflection, some people would get it and then utilize it right away on their other character. Hawk Saws, the Suros PDXs. There was just so many powerful pulse rifles all being used on trials and all very competitive. Like, everyone who was using those pulse rifles was able to kill each other very well. Now, with that being said, there were certainly people utilizing things other than pulse rifles in these competitive environments. Even a few people using auto rifles and actually doing okay with them, not too amazing. Obviously, scout rifles I did see actually quite a bit. Every once in a while I would see a Hung Jury or a Tlaloc doing very well. And even towards my last run of trials, I did see a couple of people using Hawkmoon, and they did pretty decently as well. So again, it kind of goes into the interesting debate. You have a gun type in pulse rifles that is clearly the most competitive all-around best gun type to utilize when you're in a competitive setting. If you're dicking around in normal Crucible, you can use whatever you want. You can use the Doctrine of Passing and you can probably still do alright in, let's say, a Rumble game. But if you're getting sweaty, if the sweaties are coming out and the control freaks are going on your controller and all that stuff, you're gonna probably use a pulse rifle. And again, it's a very interesting debate because like I said, pulse rifles are clearly the best competitive gun type, but on the other hand, they don't really feel too overbearing to play against. And it's also an important distinction that we're talking here about legendary pulse rifles. A lot of people are going to make counter arguments and they're going to say, well, pulse rifles aren't overpowered because I do well with the Suros regime or the Hawkmoon or whatever exotic weapon they're going to say. But think about that point. You have legendary pulse rifles that are doing just as well as exotics from other categories. A legendary pulse rifle, a Nerwin's Mercy, a Reflection, some, a Hawk Saw, can easily compete with a Hawkmoon. And that is a very interesting thing because you're not giving up your exotic slot to utilize a really powerful and competitive pulse rifle. Your opportunity cost for using a pulse rifle is extremely low. You can use a legendary pulse rifle and still equip, let's say, a Truth, and which is an amazing gun in PvP, or equip a Hereafter, or whatever other exotic you want to equip as a weapon, because the legendary pulse rifles are so good they compete with the other classes' exotics. So we've established that pulse rifles are clearly the most competitive gun type. Although they don't really feel unbelievably overpowered, they really do limit diversity in the Crucible. Like, you don't see as much diversity within Trials of Osiris, within Iron Banner, as you definitely should. So what can be done to solve this problem? Well, there's really two approaches. You can either nerf pulse rifles, or you can buff other gun types to match the pulse rifle's level. Now, I think a small nerf to pulse rifles certainly isn't out of the question, especially when you're talking about just kind of limiting their accuracy a little bit so they don't act like bloody laser beams, and then you actually have a reason to use something like a scout rifle over a pulse rifle. I think that's a legitimate option. However, I think it's really important to look at the other gun types in terms of a buff, especially since a lot of the other gun types in terms of primaries have recently been nerfed and slightly rebuffed, and they've been reworked a lot. So increasing their power level won't create power creep. I know everyone is familiar with power creep because during the Thorn controversy, a couple of YouTubers brought up power creep. They forgot to mention that you actually can avoid power creep extremely easily. But in any event, let's look at the other gun types. Let's look at auto rifles. Auto rifles were nerfed twice extremely hard in the Crucible, and very recently have been ever so slightly buffed. But even then, I think most of you would agree that the range of auto rifles right now is abysmal. There simply isn't enough to compete with the majority of other gun types. A lot of auto rifles have ranges that are within shotgun range. So when you're using an auto rifle, a lot of the time your optimal range is the same optimal range as someone on the other team blank shotgunning. So what's the point in using an auto rifle? And only the few amazing auto rifles with insane starting range, like the Answering Chord and the Suros ARI 45, those with the best possible rolls have decent potential in PvP, but for the average auto rifle, it just doesn't even cut it. Hand cannons are exactly the same. Hand cannons were the recipient of a blanket nerf after the runaway success of the Thorn and the Last Word. Now, this really hurt a lot of legendary hand cannons because they were not really overpowered, but they still got nerfed. I think Bungie definitely needs to dial back that nerf, and then you have hand cannons that are a lot more competitive again. And remember, we're talking about the vast number of legendary and even blue weapons in these gun types. Don't be that person who says, oh, well, I do good with this one legendary hand cannon, so basically all hand cannons are good. That's absolutely not the case. If 1 or 2 legendary hand cannons are good, that's fine. The other 9 are complete shit, and that's why we're talking about it in this video. The fact of the matter is, almost all of the legendary pulse rifles are competitive. Only a few of the legendary other gun types are even close to competitive, and therefore we have this issue. So again, to combat pulse rifles, we need to buff auto rifle range so they can actually compete with other primary gun types. We need to undo some of the massive nerf to hand cannons so that they can actually function beyond shotgun range as well. They start missing extremely close range. And for scout rifles, I think it's very interesting because when you're talking about the average scout rifles, the ones that kill in 4 shots, and they're just the run-of-the-mill scout rifles, they actually have super long time to kills with 1 second, whereas when you're talking about an average pulse rifle, it has a time to kill of 0.93 seconds. So it's always going to get beat out. Like, the scout rifles are just always going to get beat out because they just have a longer native time to kill for whatever reason. I think if you buffed scout rifle rate of fire, just the average scout rifle rate of fire by just a little bit, so that you lined up those 2 time to kills, you lined up pulse rifle time to kills with scout rifle time to kills, I think obviously that would make them even. So guys, that's it for the video, and you know, my point in making this video is not just to complain or whatever. I'm making this video because I like to see diversity within PvP. The whole point of having a loot-based game that has a competitive PvP is that you have a vast diversity of guns you can utilize in PvP, and that simply isn't the case. It's no fun when you're getting killed by the Nerwin's Mercy in Trials again and again and again, and no matter who you're playing, you're always seeing the same guns. That just isn't fun. And so again, my ultimate goal is to just increase the diversity of weapons utilized in PvP. Now, if you agree with that statement, if you agree with this video, please remember to rate and share this video. It really helps me out, and it'll actually give this video a chance to be seen by Bungie. Hopefully, we can get some of these changes implemented. Now, if you want to see more Destiny content similar to this, or if you want to see some Black Ops 3 content, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. Now, if you want to keep up to date with the latest channel activity, and also get in touch with me, the best way is to follow me on Twitter. That's linked in the description of this video, as is my Twitch channel, which you can follow as well. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.